Welcome to HDTV. You're now rocking with your boy. The Senate passes 1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, a major victory for Biden. The Senate on Tuesday passed a roughly $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure deal, a significant win for President Biden and the first step on his top legislative priority. Senators voted 69 to 30 on the bill, which was spearheaded by a bipartisan group of senators led by Senators Kirsten Sinema, who's a Democrat out of Arizona, and Rob Portman, a Republican out of Ohio. 19 GOP senators voted with all Democrats to pass the legislation. The bill is now headed to the House where it faces an uncertain future and skepticism from progressives. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who's a Democrat out of California, has vowed she won't take it up until the Senate passes the second part of its infrastructure two step, a sweeping $3.5 trillion spending package that includes Democrats' top priorities. But the Senate's passage of the bipartisan measure on Tuesday gives a victory for Biden and the centrist minded group that led the legislation and placed big bets and months of time on the ability to get a bipartisan deal on infrastructure, one of Washington's long running legislative white whales. Congress has talked about truly modernizing our nation's infrastructure for as long as we can remember. The United States Senate delivered so that we can finally give the American people the safe, reliable, and modern infrastructure they deserve. Portman, Sinema, and the 8 other senators who were the core negotiators said in a joint statement after the vote. And underscoring the bill's importance to the administration, Vice President Harris presided over the vote even though she wasn't needed to break a tie. The bipartisan deal includes roughly $550 billion in new funding, making it substantially smaller than the $2.6 trillion proposed by Biden earlier this year. It includes money for new investments for infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, broadband, water, and rail, according to a Congressional Budget Office analysis, or you call it the CBO. The bill would add $256 billion to the deficit, though negotiators argue that hard infrastructure projects pay for themselves over time, and that CBO didn't give them full credit for their work. The new spending under the bill is offset through a combination of new revenue and savings, some of which is reflected in the formal CBO score and some of which is reflected in other savings and additional revenue. Identified in estimates as CBO is limited in what it can include in its formal score, Sinema and Portman said in a joint statement on the analysis. Even though the bipartisan bill appeared in recent days to be on a glide path to passage, it was full of stops and starts. Biden initially tried to negotiate a deal with Republicans led by Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Republican out of West Virginia, but those talks unraveled. Biden instead blessed the negotiations between Portman and Sinema, who have been quietly talking for weeks, and he joined the group of the 10 core negotiators at the White House in late June to announce they had reached a deal on a framework. The group in the White House then spent more than next month trying to iron out their details, including the perennial sticking point of how to pay for the agreement after Republicans took ramped up IRS enforcement off the table. That included hours of Capitol meetings filled with pizza and several bottles of wine. Even after the group in the White House announced late last month that they had a deal on the major issues and the Senate formally moved to take up the bill, they still spent days finalizing key provisions, including broadband and transit. And the Senate's final debate on bill over the weekend was dragged out after Senator Bill Hagerty, representative or a Republican out of Tennessee, rejected lobbying by his colleagues to sign off on an agreement that would trade votes on anywhere from 16 to 25 amendments in exchange for speeding up the final vote. Senators also made 11th hour attempts to add a deal to change the bill's cryptocurrency language, which has sparked bipartisan alarm, but those were blocked. The bill passed in the Senate on Tuesday by Republican splits on full display, with former President Trump repeatedly lashing out at Republicans, including GOP leader Mitch McConnell, who's a Republican out of Kentucky, for helping advance the bipartisan deal. Nobody will ever understand why Mitch McConnell allowed this non infrastructure bill to be passed. He has given up all his leverage for the big whopper of a bill that will follow. He is working so hard to give Biden a victory, now they'll go for the big one, including the biggest tax increases in the history of our country, Trump said in a statement on Tuesday. McConnell, in a statement after the vote, touted the money that will go toward Kentucky projects under the bill. I was proud to support today's historic bipartisan infrastructure deal and prove that both sides of the political aisle can still come together around common sense solutions. By promoting sensible collaborative legislation, we have shown that the Senate still works as an institution, he said. To pass the bill through the Senate, Democrats needed at least 10 GOP votes. Though they got several more than that, they also lost GOP senators who had helped advance the bill over earlier procedural hurdles. Senator Ty Young, who's a Republican out of Indiana, who is up for re-election next year, announced over this weekend that he cannot support the deal. Having reviewed the Congressional Budget Office's, which is CBO, estimated fiscal impact of this legislation has currently constructed, and frankly still not being comfortable with the number of the Democratic priorities contained in this version. I will vote no, Young said in a statement. And Senator Mike Rounds, Republican of South Dakota, who missed the vote because his wife is undergoing treatment for cancer, announced hours before Tuesday vote that he cannot support the deal. He voted to advance it on Saturday. As we comb through the legislative text of this 2,702 page bill and the subsequent amendments, there were many sections that I believe contradict the values of the people of South Dakota who sent me to Washington. With that in mind, I could not in good conscience support the legislation in its final form, Round said. The Senate's passage of the bill tees up Senate Democrats to turn to their $3.5 trillion plan, which they would try to pass through the Senate without GOP support. Passing the plan requires two steps. First, they need to clear a budget resolution that includes broad instructions and top line figures on the subsequent bill. The Senate is poised to vote on Tuesday to take up the budget resolution, which Democrats will be able to do on their own as long as all of 50 of their members stay unified. Before they can approve the budget, they'll need to endure a marathon session known as Votorama, where any senator can voice a vote on anything they want. After they cleared the budget resolution, they will then spend at least a month drafting the spending package itself, which will include top priorities, including expanding Medicare, immigration reform, combating climate change, and universal pre K. The House is expected to wait until after the Senate passes the spending package this fall to take up the bipartisan bill, though moderates are ramping up efforts to pressure Pelosi into moving faster. So, whatever you can achieve in a bipartisan way, bravo, we salute it. We applaud it. We hope that it will pass soon. But at the same time, we're not going forward leaving people behind. Pelosi told reporters last week all of these things are urgent and we're going to get them done together. So, I just basically wasted 8 minutes of your time reading you bullshit. Basically, what they're doing is they're going to create an infrastructure for what? What is this infrastructure helping? Roads and all this shit? They've been working on roads before I was born. They're still working on roads. Ain't nothing changed. All they're going to do is tax us even more. But this is what I want to ask all the people who diss Kwame Brown, who diss Carcino for Life, who diss Ticket TV, all of these guys who's doing something for the community. Why isn't this infrastructure going towards Black America? Oh, I know why. Biden's a racist bitch, and America don't give a shit about your black ass. So all of these activist groups like the NAACP, Black Lives Matter, they don't do shit for you. That is why we have to do it for ourselves. then come together. Lead ourselves. We need a group of leaders as black men and then black women. We don't need a bunch of yes men or yes women saying, oh, well, I'm following this guy. I'm following this guy. Follow your goddamn self. The infrastructure bill is basically bullshit for them to raise taxes and to put money in their pocket. They're going to take that infrastructure, put it somewhere into like the prisons and into all this other bullshit that don't mean nothing. Oh, we're going to build a bridge here. We're going to build roads. No, what you need to build is more jobs. More production. But we don't do that. We've turned into a distribution nation. We don't make shit. And when we stopped making shit, that's when we became shit. And we're going to continue to be that. This infrastructure should help the poverty-stricken places in America, whether it's white, black, Asian, whatever. The poverty areas should be controlled. Money should be put into building that up and getting the bad seeds out of there. But you know why they're not going to do it? Because they're making too much money off of your labor when your ass go to jail. And it's the truth. This is what they do. They don't look at us as, how do I say? They don't look at us as equal. They don't look at us as humans. They look at us as a 3/5 of a human. What the fuck is a 3/5 of a goddamn human? Ask yourself that. They look at you as a 3/5 of a human. Do you think that shit really makes sense for your black ass? No. They know what they're doing. They know what they want. Joe Biden, you got this $1 trillion deal on the table for infrastructure. What about the debts of kids who going to college to go get a job? That's bullshit. The American dream is for your ass to go to school and pay debt. They don't want you learning how to fix things. They don't want you learning to get a trade. Because if you get a trade, you're not going to need the government and you're not going to need corporations anymore. Because you know why? You'll be your own LLC. You'll be your own company. That's why. Let's look at the layers that have been created. This infrastructure build is nothing but a way saying we're going to take this money for ourselves, put it in our pockets, build up some roads, build up some schools in the rich area or places where your black ass or your poor ass can't go to. And we're going to continue screwing you over. And we're going to feed you nothing but lies and lies telling you this is for this is for that. They don't want you learning trades or skills because if you do, you will not need these corporations that they pay all this money to keep running and to keep people like myself and others damn near at the bottom. And they're raising the taxes up. You know why they're raising the taxes up? Because at your job, they're raising your raise up. They're raising your salary up. And as well as they've given you these stimulus checks, they're coming with another stimulus check where they're going to try to pay you each month. Then once that, they're going to raise taxes while that's happening so you can lose that money. They don't give a shit about you, whether you're black, white, Asian, or whatever. They only care about their money in their pockets. Fuck these politicians. We need to stand up as the people. We need to. Those who are not at work or working jobs, y'all need to get off y'all ass and go down there and cuss them out for us. Go vote for us. We need to build our own infrastructure. We do. I'm not just trying to blow hot smoke. I'm being honest. So we got to wake up. We got to wake up. So thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, share this. Hit the notification bell to select all to receive upcoming notifications. And if you love what you hear, you can donate to the page by Cash Apping me at the word welcome, the number 2, and HDIITV. Thank you for listening, and we're out. Deezy.